Well, Rob, it's been a few weeks since we've been in action, but a healthy return and a happy return, I'd imagine, up at London Irish this weekend.
Yeah, and just the kind of fixture we probably need. We probably need a big fixture, because obviously the key is the teams that are going to win this weekend and the teams that come through the break, the better, you know. And we talked this week about making sure we get up to Premiership speed and Premiership intensity as quickly as possible. But the truth of it is, you never really know how that goes until kick-off. So the fact it's a big fixture, big crowd, gives it a little bit of kind of just extra spice to the game. That'll hopefully bring out a big performance in us. You know, we're going pretty well, so another big performance would be nice.
The old cliche is you're as good as your last game, and your last game was Northampton Saints here at Sandy Park. It was a great performance and ideal springboard to take into this Irish game.
Yeah, and I think we're really pleased with our last block of games. You know, we set ourselves some pretty high targets through that block and we achieved them. The players played very well. And now, you know, we've had a couple of weeks to freshen up, and as I say, you know, it'll be interesting to see how we've dealt with this break. And I think it's a good learning experience for us, because if we come through it well, we've obviously done some things well. If we don't come through it so well, then, you know, maybe some things we have to reassess next time we have a bit of a break. You know, the players are very aware of that, and they're also very aware if they play well on Saturday, we'll maybe look forward to giving them a bit more time off. So nice incentive for them.
All season we've talked about how intensive the Premiership is and how people can get bruised and battered. But I suppose these last 2 weeks have allowed the boys to recharge the batteries, get a few knocks out of the way, and go on from that.
As you say, you know, like any other team, we've got a few bumps and bruises. Although we actually did feel we were on a bit of a good run of form, and we didn't have too many injuries, so you know, we wouldn't have had an issue just carrying on playing, which kind of would have been nice. We had a bit of momentum. On the flip side, London Irish probably were looking for a break, and now this is a nice chance for them to reignite their season. So a real big challenge for us. We know it's going to be tough up there, but at the same time, we've enjoyed every other tough challenge, and I'm kind of looking forward to just going up there and performing well. And as we've said all season, you know, we'll take whatever comes. If we perform well, we'll get something out of the game.
When we played London Irish here early in the season, a near full house, but and there's going to be a massive crowd up there this weekend for their St Paddy's Day game. But when you look back at that game, so close but yet so far, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you know, you've got to remember it's early in our Premiership season, and maybe on another day we'd have done a little bit better and maybe held on for the draw or closed out a win for ourselves. You know, we're still very much a work in progress. We're learning every week. Our individual players are learning and improving, and they need to experience things like, you know, these bits of breaks and then get it straight back into Premiership action to keep moving forward, to keep developing as players. And as you say, you know, a big game up there will be a nice experience for everybody, and we'll be a better team and better players for it.
When you look at Irish's threat, they, like a lot of the sides in the Premiership, they've got it all over the field, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean that's the difficulty. I mean, there's no real one way to play anybody. You know, in the Premiership, you know, we've got to go in there as well prepared as we can. We think we've got a game plan that'll give us good opportunities, and as you say, you know, we're very aware of the threats that are going to come at us. But you know, London Irish will have had 3 weeks to do their homework as well. Now, whether that leads to a bit of a chess game, I don't know, but I do know it'll be a massively physical and intense game, and that's what we've got to face first and foremost. You know, if we can get up to the intensity and the physicality very quickly, then it'll be a very interesting game.
In terms of team news, a few boys back in the side this weekend: Jason Schumark, James Hanks, and Matt Jess. So, you think your thoughts about welcoming them back into the side?
Yeah, well, you know, very interesting. You know, Hanksy obviously couldn't play with an injury, so you know, that was an enforced change. The other guys have been playing well, but we felt, you know, there's always an opportunity to freshen things up. You know, Shuey was carrying a bit of a knock. It probably would have been, you know, at the stage of the season we're in, silly to push him through. But then, you know, the guys who stepped in, you know, Phil Don has been great for us this season, and you know, he probably feels a bit unfortunate now to have lost out. But you know, Jesse, Shuey, they've been playing well. Hank's been playing well for us, and I think to reward their other performances by bringing them back is fine. That said, you know, Nomani did well in his Premiership debut, and I'm sure he'll have a big impact off the bench. You know, and Chad, you know, has never let us down again. You know, he'll be involved in the game at some stage. So nice to have everyone fit to pick from. But you know, that won't stop us freshening things up in the future if we want to. You know, there's still plenty of rugby left to play this season, and still plenty of games to see a few other performers.
The other big news this week was that you've re-signed Kevin Barrett after a couple of seasons away at Saracens. Yeah. Must be excited welcoming him back into the fray. Yeah,
I mean, the best thing with Kev back is we're very happy with his conditioning, very happy with the kind of guy he is, with his work ethic. You know, it's just a good fit always round. I think Kev enjoyed his time here. You know, we're looking forward to working with him again. We know he's a good character, and I think he's still got a lot to improve. You know, now he's not involved with the sevens. I'm fully focusing on 15s. You know, I think working with Ricky, his game will move forward as well, and he'll be another guy who will add great tempo to our game, because that's what we're after.
I know when we spoke earlier in the week, you said he's another player, a bit like some of the guys you brought in last summer, with a point to prove, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a little bit unfortunate. He's been at Saracens and obviously been away a fair bit with the Sevens and trying to establish himself against two very good scrum halves. You know, he'll still have that battle here. You know, we think we've got good scrum halves here, and he'll have that battle here. But as I say, you know, maybe the opportunities, if he works hard, will come, and then, you know, it's for him to grab it. You know, it's no different to any other club. If he plays well enough, he'll get in. If he doesn't, you know, he's going to have a real battle on his hands.
With new faces coming in, obviously people have to go out the door, and one of those will be Owen Grace. He's heading off back home to Connaught. But it's been a frustrating time for Owen, really, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, you know, anybody who's seen him play knows a guy with great potential, great pace. He showed that in the Sevens early pre-season, but then, you know, he did have a bit of a catalogue of injuries for quite a long time. You know, he's back now and running around and fully fit, but again, you know, he's almost lost out to the team, getting established and doing quite well. You know, he's in direct competition with James Caesbrook, who's played very well for us this year in the Premiership. You know, James being backed up by Andy Miller, who's performed very well for us in LV Cup games and some Amlin games, and some outstanding performances in the A-League. So, you know, he's just had to bide his time, and I think this is probably a very good move for him. You know, a move to Connaught is a good move, and I think, you know, if he gets some good game time, you know, he'll keep pushing forward. So, you know, he's gone with, you know, all our best wishes, and I think he'll do very well there.
All the best for the weekend, Bob. Thanks.
Thanks very much.